Horror Hour.
All right. Hi, welcome to the Horror Hour. My name is Yutaka, and today I've got a special guest. I'm really excited. We've got the upcoming director of Blood, Brad Anderson, with us. How are you today?
I'm very good. Very good. Happy to be here.
No, happy to have you on. One of the things that I wanted to know is what drew you to this project?
Well, I think it was when I read the script, number one, and every time you read a script and you find yourself just not stopping as you flip through page after page to see where it's going is always a good sign. And that was the case with this. I really appreciated and liked the tone of the movie. It was both dark and scary and a little bleak, but at the same time, a kind of emotional, like, kind of connection in the movie that, I was really moved by it, frankly, by the relationship between Michelle's character, the mother, and her kids, particularly her son, and all the kind of sacrifices she is doing as a single mom to kind of keep him safe and make him better. I just found that journey as a parent myself very emotional. And then you tie that together with the creepy horror kind of more genre, like vampire stuff, if you will.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great combination and a great role for an actress like Michelle, who obviously like really glommed onto it. All those things, and also just like the potential to do something just visually, interesting, and kind of trying to get into the headspace of a woman who's like sort of starting to have a mental breakdown, if you will, and all that kind of stuff. All those little things add up, and you're just kind of like, this is something I got to do.
Sure. And I appreciate when I was reading about, well, when I watched the trailers, saw the clips, and I was reading more into it. I like the idea of at the end, when you start to look at yourself, who really becomes the monster in a sense, because
Yeah.
how I like that idea of how far are you willing to go to protect your kids, you
Yeah.
know. And as a viewer, I'm like, I don't know because I'm not a parent, but I'm very always intrigued to see them go through that journey because it's never
Yeah.
the same. And so I really like that.
Yeah, well, being a parent, I don't know. There are good things I'd recommend, other things I'd say don't, be careful what you wish for. But yeah, I mean, I definitely, as any parent will watch it and kind of connect with that kind of struggle that we have with our children. And that again was my into it, the thing that
Mhm.
I most connected with. Um, and I sort of look for that in everything I do. It's like how to take a more genre story in some respects, something maybe we've seen before, but how do you have a different twist on it so to make it interesting. And the journey that she goes through, Michelle's character in the story, to me was one that I knew there was like a lot to play with in that,
Mhm.
and suspense too, right? I mean, like there's so many opportunities to build up and really amp up the suspense of like, is she gonna get away with it? Is she not gonna get away with it? The thing you said about who's the monster? I mean, that to me is like almost the tagline too. In trying to protect her son from becoming a monster, does she become a monster herself? Like that's the weird dilemma she's in.
And
Um,
I love that.
yeah, that's me too. And that's when I was reading it, I was like, that's cool, man. Like that's definitely a crazy kind of concept. So, and she did too, Michelle. Like that's why she was like, oh man, I got to do it. So I hadn't sort of seen that. I mean, there's movies like, The Others, maybe, I don't know if you ever saw that movie. It was maybe
Mhm.
a good reference, another movie about a mother and her kids and but I don't know, it just seemed to me sort of a fresh take on this kind of genre.
Well, and I also say the clip that I watched really kind of was unsettling, which I love. That's why I love the genre. But when you see Michelle's character and the woman in the gag, and she's trying to explain to her, it's like, hey, like, and the clip doesn't give away too much, but I'm like, what the
What's she
hell
doing
is
this?
going on here? And but you can see she's clearly kind of almost at her breaking point, and I don't know, it was just so
Yeah,
unsettling. But I was like, I can't wait to see how this plays out. This just that
but
whole, oh my
yeah,
goodness,
yeah, that scene, that whole bit in the middle of our movie, or whatever, when she basically does what you kind of sort of see it coming. Like, what else is she going to do? How is she going to provide for her son? Animals aren't going to cut it. So there's only one other. She
yeah,
can't do it herself. But at a certain point, it's like, okay, well, this is probably where this is going to go. But yeah, I love that. That when I read that scene between her and the woman, I just thought like that's so grueling and horrific. And in one level, she is a monster. What she's doing, it's criminal, right? I mean, she's
yeah,
like
oh yeah,
a woman. But on the other hand, like I said before, it's like, as a parent, often you think hypothetically, what if I were in a situation where I had to, harm someone else to protect my son or my daughter? Like, would I do it? You know what I mean? Like,
hmm
I mean, depending on the circumstances, of course. And she tries to justify it by saying, like, oh, the woman, she's old, she's dying, like she's not as much time anyhow. So, but
that's what
nonetheless,
was chilling. I was just like, oh, okay, she's not
no, but
wrong, but it's like,
I
ooh,
think that if you leave the movie with, I mean, I think that's, we always talked about like, where are the audience's allegiances? On the one level, you're like, Michelle, her character is like, what she's doing is awful. And I don't like her for doing it. On the other hand, you're also like, in thinking about it, you're like, well, what else is she going to do? I mean, given her circumstances and the fact that she's also a mother who is perceived as being not a good mom, like
hmm
that was a really that was an important thing for her. She didn't want to be like she's already like a good, strong mother who's going to always do the right thing by her kids. No, she's like kind of a messed up mom who's like maybe she's had some addiction issues and she hasn't always been there for her kids and she's in a custody battle with her husband and maybe going to lose the kids and so she has to be in her best behavior. So that dilemma, throwing that into the mix just made it more fun for her because she's got to be both try to appear to be doing a good job but at the same time doing these things on the side that are probably not so kosher. Yeah.
No, I like that surface level one way, but then on the other, it gets a little deeper and darker.
Yeah.
So that's always fun. How is it working with the child actors? I mean, from the bits that I saw, it started to get. It seems to be like we're getting more creepy kid movies, which I love, or kids that are creepy in films. So it's always
Yeah.
great. But that
It's got a
little,
little the creepy kid thing. I mean, Finley, the guy who plays Owen, he was to me a good choice just because like when he's not, he's sort of is a cute, sweet little maybe naughty kid. Like you kind of
Mhm.
sort of understand that kind of boy. Like I have a son like that, but then he can also, when things start to go the way they go, like he can really kind of play spooky and weird and creepy and like unsettling. So like that was fun with him trying to find that arc so that he could play that, because he did, both these kids, him and Skylar, the girl who plays his sister, are kind of new to it, and so it's always fun working with kids because they're kind of raw talents.
Mhm.
They're they have so much there to give, and sometimes they need to just be steered a little bit, but you kind of let them play. And Skylar particularly was so good because she had even a harder role, frankly, because she had to be like the sister who's both, you know, so who wants to support and be there for her mom, but also now realizes her mom is doing this awful thing. Like she's sort of also equally in a bad between, a rock and a hard place. And the emotion that she has to convey, particularly in those last scenes, is like so intense for any actor, let alone like a 14 or 15-year-old actor. I mean, it's tough. She did a great job. So yeah, I like working with kids. It's fun. Hard. It's not always easy because they just time, but
Sure.
they're good.
No, it sounds like there was a great dynamic on set. I guess with for my final question, that is really, what do you hope that folks take away from this film after they watch it?
I mean, I think you can, hopefully just kind of what I said initially, just sort of seeing it as both a genre ride, like a kind
Hmm.
of more straightforward horror movie, if you will, to a certain degree, but also like appreciating the emotional journey that particularly Michelle's character takes, and like and understand there's other ways you can tell horror stories. Like they don't all have to be jump scares. This is more of a
Yeah.
slow burn, right? This is more of a psychological or emotional like horror, and that to me is like there are less of those kind of movies than there are the more straightforward jump scare movies like the Blumhouse type movies. So I think if you're looking for something a little different, right, a little darker, creepier story, but something that can also maybe be moving, that combination is rare, or now it's a rare thing to find. So in that way, this movie I think can be an interesting a good option.
That's really exciting for me because I completely agree. We don't really get to see a lot of those horror films at times that go more into our own, like have us questioning ourselves because, as you said, who do we side with here? But
Mm.
also, we're getting that genre elements, and then it just I personally like a good slow burn that just like settles in and like gets underneath your skin, and then
Yeah.
you walk away. I'm like, am I bad for thinking this way? Or I'm like,
Yeah. Right.
so
Right. Yeah.
I really enjoy that, and so I'm looking forward to it. So,
Cool.
Brad, just thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. Again, it was
Absolutely.
really a pleasure. And for everyone, just go check out Blood. I'm really excited for this. So, all right, thank
Good.
you.
Great talking to you too. Thanks, man. Cheers.
You have been listening to the Horror Hour. See you next time.